stuck bouncing. And people are leaving again.
All right, look at the people getting up out of here. Look at the people getting up out of here.
No.
They're like, nope. Yeah, get my boys off here. Dude, that is crazy.
Hey guys, special video here. Something that some of us haven't been talking about, but the recent incident on El Toro has tempted me to get a little bit more specific about concerns in relation to amusement parks opening up after the lockdown. Now, obviously, Wonderland hasn't opened up yet, but we're on the cusp of that finally happening, and it's very exciting. And I know for us enthusiasts that live in Ontario, there's nothing that we want more than to get back into parks. But first thing we had was Shivering Timbers incident only 2 weeks ago, of which is a Cedar Fair park. And while that was ride operator error that brought us that situation, we have now the El Toro incident as well, of which we don't have specifics about what's going on with that particular accident yet. But for those that do not maybe not know, the ride just derailed in the second half of its course. And there's some rumors out there that the derailment actually occurred earlier in the ride, which seems a little confusing to me, because if that were the case, then the riders probably would have sustained quite substantial injuries because of that. You only need to look into roller coaster history or incidents to know that you can't really escape that happening when that occurs. So rumors of the track being torn up because of that, an entire retrack being needed, is really a slight concern as far as the emergency element of that whole incident is really the most biggest concern. But for those of us that go to parks for, cover a substantial distance to cover a major park such as Great Adventure, it does become concerning because the reason for going to the park suddenly is lessened, and also the fact that you don't know whether or not the safety of those rides is really at the standard that it may have been, pre-pandemic. Now, I'm going to, of course, get controversial with this, but is it possible that we've seen overall a lessened amount of park attendance, at least mandated from procedural standpoints from 2020, and in the case of Wonderland and La Ronde and many other parks, still the revenue that they normally would entertain or enjoy, unfortunately, has been compromised. What I'm getting at is overall budgets are low, and could that also mean that parks maintenance teams have suffered because of that as well? It's a scary thing to sort of put out there, but I just have to mention it because with this incident, really a worry about the safety of the rides. I think that we have a lot of concern over COVID and whether or not the park will be safe from that standpoint. I've been to La Ronde, and I've been twice, and I had no concerns whatsoever from a COVID standpoint about safety, other than the ones brought up in my vlog as far as people interactions, which are things that if you just talk to people about, then you'll be fine. But it's really more of a concern about maintenance, and this really brings it into my La Ronde experience with Titan. And with Spin Sanity being a new ride that opened at Six Flags Maryland, obviously, with it being new, it's a different circumstance. Again, could lead to an argument about ride operators not being as experienced as, say, maybe in the past. Would a full-time park operator that's being offered part-time hours come back for that in the current situation? I'm not too concerned about 2022. I'm just talking about now and whether or not this may be something, or this may lead to another issue going forward. I'm not going to say anything more to it than that, other than I'm hoping that the general safety of the rides in, say, the bigger parks is as reliable as it's always been. But let's just hope that there's not another incident, because for those enthusiasts like myself that had originally planned to go to, say, places like Michigan's Adventure and Six Flags Great Adventure, definitely on my pipeline and definitely in my pecking order of places I wanted to visit recently, now I can't visit them this year, because even if I had the chance, with El Toro being not open, I will not consider it. It is really a crucial ride for me to get on, as I've not been on it before. And with Michigan's Adventure, that's a dead giveaway. No Shivering Timbers, no coaster to have / first drop. So that's going to be a problem for, I think, the parks in general. And it's not a huge component of their revenue stream. We all know that enthusiasts don't really represent that too much, but in this current state, or where we are right now, it definitely has a big component on their profit margins, because we're going to the parks anyway, regardless of the risk or the conditions. I should say on record that I don't personally have too much of a concern about going onto a ride that looks a little janky. I've been to Japan, so that's all I have to say on that. But I do have a little bit of a concern as far as the maintenance of these rides when it comes down to, we have a string of wood coasters having these problems, and the last thing I want to see is that them be retracked to the point of them being RMC'd, because it's just seen that they are beyond their time and there's no point in sustaining that type of roller coaster experience anymore. I don't want that to happen, because I love wood roller coasters, and there's nothing that I want preserved more than those classic structures that really we're having a bad year. Silver Comet and Hellcat thankfully have been rescued, so we don't have to worry too much about that right now. As far as them being saved, because thankfully Gene Staples has come in and, as per an earlier rant, saved those parks. I would say that when it comes to safety, that Mr. Staples seems to have everything in check when it comes to that, but Six Flags and Cedar Fair are definitely, dare I say, on notice when it comes to that, because they don't have too good of a safety record right now. And once word gets a little bit more out there about the El Toro incident, which I'm sure will happen over time, it's not going to be good publicity for the parks. All the focus is on COVID being a potential, or the parks being a potential breeding ground for variants, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to talk about that. But the real concern I think that most people should have when they go to the parks is to make sure that they feel safe and secure going on the rides. If any parks out there look a little understaffed, it's good and reasonable to make the assumption and to make the case that safety should be your number one concern going forward from there. I won't even get into safety when it comes to in relation to food offerings at most parks, because it's not been really safe for quite some time to do that anyway. That is the end of this particular rant. It is Canada Day, and I'm supposed to be out celebrating that. I'm not going to talk about that subject either, as it's also very controversial today too. But I will say that normally it is a big day for Canada's Wonderland. It's kind of usually the biggest weekend they have, especially for American tourists. So it's unfortunate that the park does not get to experience that and to enjoy the benefits of being open for that particular weekend. It is definitely, without question, the best park. The more research that I've done on Canada's Wonderland during the pandemic, the more I've had to make a case that it is got to be considered amongst one of the best parks in the world. It's kind of been missing the mark with enthusiasts that are just too eager to go down and to slag off the three big coasters that we have. And they end up always coming away thinking either Leviathan or Behemoth is one of the best coasters out there. That usually is always the case. But this year in particular, now the focus will be finally on the park in general. After 40 years, we have a proper coaster complement that is among the best in the world. But the park itself and the detail and all of the experience that goes along with being at Canada's Wonderland is mostly still intact from the early days. And because of that, there is a certain magic that comes along with it. Gonna be there soon, so that's all I'll say. Be sure to be safe out there. That's the most important thing going forward. And we'll see you soon. Cheers.